France and Slovenia, as well as the foreign ministers of US, UK and Guyana to this meeting, and the ministers and high-level representatives of other member states. Mr. President, the conflict in Ukraine has raged on for over 3.5 years. It has impacted the regional and international security landscape. Continued fighting has caused immense human suffering. The repercussions of this conflict extend far beyond its geographical expanse. Increased polarization and geopolitical tensions, disruption of supply chains, food and energy insecurity, global inflation, and much more. The Global South has borne a disproportionate brunt of these consequences. Mr. President, we have consistently maintained that there is no military solution here or in the foreseeable future. Every bullet fired, every rocket and drone launched, every life lost moves us further away from peace. We call upon the parties to demonstrate restraint, scrupulously adhere to the international humanitarian law, and make meaningful strides towards de-escalation. Mr. President, given the complex historical context and the intricate nature of this conflict, the logic of singling out third countries and placing this blame elsewhere is not conducive to the pursuit of peace. Mr. President, a glimmer of hope did emerge at the start of the year to pursue the path of dialogue and diplomacy. The Security Council adopted Resolution 2774, mourning the tragic losses of life, reaffirming the Charter's principle to peacefully settle disputes, imploring a swift and end to the conflict, and urging a lasting peace between Ukraine and Russia. Pakistan supported this resolution. Pakistan also welcomed the ensuing political engagement, including direct talks between Russia and Ukraine, facilitated by the US President himself. It generated optimism for an early end to this conflict. We certainly hope that these efforts will bear fruit. Our collective priority must be to silence the guns and create conditions for a negotiated settlement. As an ardent advocate for peace and a firm believer in the power of dialogue and diplomacy, we will support all endeavors aimed at resolving the issue peacefully. That was also the spirit of Resolution 2788 adopted by the Council in July. Mr. President, the path of peace is the only responsible choice. A sincere and meaningful dialogue, which addresses the security concerns of all sides, is anchored in the principles of the UN Charter and international law, and respects the relevant multilateral agreements, can help secure peace, which is both just and sustainable. Pakistan will continue to support all regional and international efforts that pave the way for a peaceful resolution of this conflict. I thank you, sir.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Fatemi. Okay. So I thank His Excellency Mr. Fatemi for the statement. Thank you. I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Javier Martinez Achav Vasquez, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Panama.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Excellencies. Panama would like to thank the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for the information provided regarding the conflict in Ukraine. We welcome the presence of the various countries who join us once again today to address the situation regarding the conflict between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Since the beginning of the Russian invasion in 2022, Panama has reiterated its concern over the breakdown of international peace and security, as well as the dire consequences of this war, which, first and foremost, affect the civilian population. We are entering the fourth year of this war, whose origin, stemming from the invasion of a sovereign state, has been the subject of numerous unsuccessful meetings of this Council. In this regard, Panama, respectful of international law, rejects any violation of the sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity of Ukraine, and we condemn the use of force by one state against another. We reaffirm the primacy of these principles, not as a rhetorical exercise or an abstract aspiration, but rather as a moral and legal obligation incumbent upon the entire international community, principles that must be safeguarded and defended wherever they are under threat. The recent violation of the airspace of Poland and Romania, as well as yesterday's meeting called in response to the incursion of Russian combat aircraft into Estonian airspace, are troubling signs of the escalation in the conflict, which undermines the recent diplomatic efforts promoted by the United States with the support of European countries to bring an end to this war. Panama reiterates that dialogue is the only path to the peaceful resolution of this conflict, that with the necessary political will, it is possible to establish the conditions that guarantee respect for international obligations and safeguard peace and security. All of this within a broad framework of freedom and the sovereign equality of states, with full respect for their sovereignty and territorial integrity. This war, the most devastating in Europe since 1945, with a humanitarian crisis that has led to high numbers of civilian and military deaths, injuries, disappearances and displacements, and which has also driven an unprecedented increase in global military spending, this war must come to an end. The effects of this tragedy are not confined to a single region. Its humanitarian, economic and political repercussions are global in nature and are felt in all areas. For 80 years, Panama has upheld the principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations and in international humanitarian law as essential pillars for peaceful coexistence between peoples. Our country has maintained that respect for these norms is the greatest contribution that we can offer humanity in order to preserve future generations from the scourge of war. Today, we reaffirm the validity of their normative value and the preservation of their integrity and universality as indispensable elements to guarantee the stability of the international order and respect for human rights. For Panama, multilateralism constitutes an indispensable tool for success and an example of effective international cooperation which, from our own experience, we can say has proven its effectiveness in promoting peace, resolving conflicts peacefully, and helping to confront the common challenges of the present and of the future. Mr. President, only with the will of each member state of this Council and the readiness to transform rhetoric into actions for peace can we demonstrate the effectiveness of this United Nations body and our ability